we talking about? What we learned from Hanukkah and taking comments. I mean, I said Hanukkah. We were just talking about Hanukkah.
Mm-hmm.
And actually, how we're going to decorate for Hanukkah.
Yep.
Already thinking about the next feast days. The thing about Hanukkah or the Feast of Dedication is it's supposed to be similar to Tabernacles. Actually, it's the makeup for Tabernacles. If you remember the story in Maccabees, how they weren't allowed to do Tabernacles in the 7th month. And then they were able to do it in the um, 9th month to make it up. Also, what's significant, you have the 8th month in the middle, which is the day that they worship the golden calf. But anyway, we got 2 people looking, 1 people liking. We're taking comments. If you learned anything over the course of Hanukkah, we ask you to please share what you've learned. We got some stuff that we learned. In the course of this video, we'll talk about some of that stuff, Abba willing. But it's really about the comments and you guys. So it's up to you guys to keep the show going. And just to kick it off, we have Leah, a crown number 1. Leah has a crown number 1. Says shalom. We say shalom here at the end of the Feast of Tabernacles. This is the day when the king sent the people away with the substance. They had sent them away with wine, lamb, and bread as they was going home. So, Joe, what did you learn over the course of this week? Joseph, what did you learn over the course of this week?
Well, we explored a lot of the Paleo Hebrew alphabet, learning a little bit how to write my name. I'm still trying to catch on to the letters and the meanings, but we learned all of the things that complete the tabernacle. Everything from the weeding tool to the clock calendar being a part of the alphabet. Well, I won't say alphabet.
Yeah, you right. I was saying.
Um,
Okay.
what else do we look at? Now we know we need a door,
Yeah.
and that our booth is actually kind of the Yiddish booth instead of having the door like the Hebrew alphabet.
It's just
So
open like the Yiddish alphabet,
yeah,
where they've
yeah,
taken the front wall off.
yeah. So that would make sense that you need doors because if you're making an actual shelter, you don't want to be too overexposed to the elements. So,
And that's what it seems like we're doing. He's actually got us building the actual thing. Like you said, is when we go through the Allah Bayatha, we find that each of those letters can be represented three-dimensionally. Like you
hmm
said, the letter that makes the T sound, Tawaba, the Jewish people call it Tet,
hmm
is actually the celestial clock.
yeah,
And the reason why it comes after the fence is because as soon as you go into the garden fence, the first thing you want to know is what to plant.
right.
And so you have our Father's celestial clock, the sun, the moon, and the stars, to tell us what season we're in, and then we know what to plant. So we're not planting corn in the wintertime
hmm
or greens in the heat of the summer.
Right.
All right, so you guys, come on in the comments. Leah is the only comment we got. This is a comment show. Don't have anything particular to talk about, so waiting for the comments. Anything you learned, any questions you had, or anything in general. But this has been what we have been calling the return to the new language, Tabernacles 2025. Returning to the pure language, learning Hebrew. Like Brother Joseph said, we actually spelled out his name and understand the difference between calling him Brother Joe and Brother Joseph. Think you can explain it? You can try. I'll help you. I'll help you. I'll help you.
I know that when you take certain letters off of your name, it actually changes the entire meaning of your name. So much so that you almost become a different person
Absolutely.
in your description. And we know that how your parents named you in that time, in those times is very, very important. So it could be the difference. It makes a big difference even in your path of life and destiny and all that.
Right. Like for instance, sometimes we here at the Hillbilly Homestead will call you Brother Joe.
Hmm.
And other times when we are actually engaged mentally, we'll say Brother Joseph.
Hmm.
And like you say, we see you different by calling you those names. Brother Joe, there's only the yod and a hook. That's two letters. And so what that means, you have a hand and you have a connection. But what is it connected to?
Seems like
There's
nothing.
no letters after,
Right.
right? And so when we take the S sound off, that's the samaka, that's the support. So by calling you Joe, we done lost the support. And the paha or the fa sound in there, Joseph, that's an open mouth, meaning you're supposed to be talking.
Right.
So you come to the compound. If we say, "Hey, brother Joe," we may not hear from you that much. But if we recognize you as brother Joseph, you come to verbally support us.
Yep. That's very true. You said I was a lot quieter when you called me Joe.
And that's what made me think about it. We aren't calling, we aren't giving him, we're not identifying who he is.
Yep, I agree.
And so when we see you as Joe, you're sitting quiet, observing and looking. But when we say, "Hey, brother Joseph, what do you think?" Now you got something to say. I mean, that goes for everybody's name. We did that here for all the names. If the first person who will give us their name, we'll actually try to see what we could come up with. Here it has to be a real name, not your stage name, like Forte.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. We talked about that name too.
Like this one, he said, "Small town bullies. Thank God for the lessons that I was able to attend." And then looking down here, you see that it says Forte.
Yep.
Brother Forte was actually able to attend our um, tabernacling there at the beginning, at the kickoff, and he's been doing so on the road as he's driving his truck. And so we looked at his name. I, up until the Feast of Tabernacles, was calling him Tay.
Hmm.
I done took off the first three letters of his name, and I'm just calling him Tay. And even during it, he's calling himself Forte. He's even lost the last letter of his name. And so by the end of the Tabernacles, we're trying to pronounce the name correctly, which is Forte. Forte. You have to get that E on the end. It's not silent, right? Because what we learn is that that last letter, which transliterates back to the Hawaha, the H sound in Hebrew, actually meant a man raising his hand if he's praying.
Right.
And so by saying forte versus forte, we've lost the praying man.
Hmm.
And then so if I call him Tay, I've lost the prayer, and then I don't have the beginning, the for, which is speaking, and the hook, right?
Right.
And so even though we have a man that is good and supported, that's the Tay part, we don't have the head, the resh part in the for, or the open mouth part speaking, or the man raising his hands in prayer.
Yep.
Just that quick. And his mama knew that when she named him. That's who she named him. She didn't name him Tay. She probably didn't even want a Tay. If she'd have thought about it,
Yeah.
she wanted a Forte, a Forte.
I wonder if that has any resemblance to the musical term forte means. It increases in loudness and volume in music.
Oh, that's what, cause you study music. So what do you mean? Like for instance, when they're when
It's a dynamic range.
that's what I'm saying. I was trying to think like in the church when they talk about how the church music,
Hmm.
how it's used to uplift the spirit, and they change the tone and the frequency to so-called elevate your spirit. So
Right.
that's what a forte is.
It's more simplified, I guess. When you're reading music, it'll tell you the dynamic. It'll have a F or it have two F's, forte, fortissimo, and then it can go about as loud as they want. But it's kind of interesting. I wonder how that kind of can correlate, if possible.
Well, no, definitely, but you're going to have to help us out. So when you're reading your music, and understand you play the drums,
Hmm.
so you play the snare drum. So you got your snare roll with a tat 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 tat. So when you see the F sound, which means forte, what do you do different?
Says to play loudly or strongly, and
Play
not.
loudly or strongly. So he
Yeah.
has that element to his name too.
Hmm.
The spiritual element and the musical element, which means he's supposed to be loud. He's kind of loud, eh?
Yeah.
So
In
he's
a
got,
good way. In a
yeah,
good
the
way.
good way. I mean, he's got that solid bass voice
Yeah.
to be heard voice. You never be like, what'd you say?
Yeah.
You never say that around brother Forte. You always hear when he got something to say, you're gonna hear it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Hoo-hoo.
And also a blessing to be able to baptize them as well.
That's true. We went through the baptism and of course he had been baptized before, and he had to go through that moment like we did.
Hmm.
Why do we have to do it again? But the beauty of it is understanding the elevations that we get through additional baptisms, along with learning his name during the Feast of Tabernacles. Could you imagine? In the year 2025. Y'all pray for this, man. Y'all pray for y'all pray for small town bullies. That's where I got my bullies from. From small town bullies. Who else we got? We got yep, we're gonna thank Father Abba for the lessons we learned. We learned some more lessons. We're gonna get some more lessons, but we're gonna go through the comments. We got sounds like Leia. What is that? Sounds like Leia. Oh, that's his name. Leia. Hmm?
Her name.
Her name? I don't look at the pictures. Is it her?
I think it is.
Okay. I try my best not to look at the avatars. But her name is Leia. Now how you spell that in Hebrew? Lamada. That's the la. But she say lay. So that's the first letter. So it's Allah. So Lamada Allah. That Y in there, is it silent? She said it sounds like lay. So which means the Y is silent. And let's see, in her first name, yeah, it's not there. It's Lee. Now the way she has it, she says it sounds like lay,
Hmm.
right? But when you look at it, it's Lee. So instead of Lamada Allah, it would be Lamada Hawa'a.
Ramada Hawaii.
So you see how you going from the strength, the bull, the head, to the man raising his hands in prayer, simply by the sound and phonetics of the name, spelling versus sounding out. And then she has the ya on the end, which she says it sounds like ya. Remember we talked about that. We learned that in the feast day, that if you just say ya, you're only
Saying you.
saying you, one syllable, like in Abba Baraka Ya, which means Father bless you.
Hmm.
If you say Abba Baraka, like for instance after somebody sneeze, you're only saying Father bless. If you say Abba Baraka Ya, you're saying Abba bless you. And so the only difference is one single letter, which is the letter Yod at the end, which means you. So if you just say Ya, you're saying you. What we want to say is the two-syllable word. That's why it's important to pronounce all the letters in Hebrew, because look how you've just changed his name.
Right.
You want to say Yaha, as in Yad Hawa, two letters. But because we're in English and we're just spelling stuff, we just say Yah. But what we've done is we've truncated the name. We've actually taken the man raising his hand in prayer. And what does that mean? That's you raising your hand in prayer. When you say Yah, that's the letter Yad plus Hawa'a. So you put them together, that's you raising your hands in prayer. And the you that we're talking about, of course, the Bible is talking about is the Messiah.
Hmm.
But by truncating and taking that off, we've changed who he is.
I know a lot of the Hebrew songs they try to fit his name in there really quickly, because of our English language. So it's
And music, how you just, yeah.
yeah. So that's I think that's part of the challenge.
Yeah.
Because I've tried to do that too when I'm singing songs, is like try to add the full name to them. And so it's like you'd have to change even some of your
Well,
structuring of the sentence beforehand to
yeah.
kind of fit it in there.
Yeah. Like this song we were singing. Yeah, 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 yeah. I can't stop praising his name. Ooh, yeah, 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 yeah. I can't stop praising his name. We've been singing that song for years.
Hmm.
But now that we understand what we're doing, all we're saying is you. I can't stop praising his name. Ooh, you. Because we've truncated his name.
Right.
We've spelled his name as in spelling.
Hmm.
But then when we go back and actually take, like you say, you have to restructure the song to make it correct. So, and you start thinking, what are you saying? What do you want to say? What are you supposed to be saying? And so, a quick tweak in the song, it goes, ya, ha, wah, ha. I can't stop praising your name. Ooh, ya, ha, wah, ha. I can't stop praising your name. And so, we're going to have to go back
Yeah.
and do that to all of these songs.
Yeah. Now, I wish we could reach out to the artists and say, "Hey, can y'all do
Can you
a
do us a favor?
remix? Yeah, can you do a remix? We
Hey, the
found
Rock
something."
Out Bar is good at that kind of stuff. Maybe he'll help
Yeah,
us.
yeah, definitely, definitely.
You know, all we need is somebody with the talent and the willingness to jump out there.
Yeah.
And but there you go. And then we as a collective group, like one of the things that our children say they learned here is that we're not alone. I'm not the only one. We're not the only one who are actually in this law and trying to keep these peace and stuff. They learned that by you being here.
Yeah,
And,
definitely.
yeah, you come in with the talking support, and so you've helped in that area. And so, forgot what I was gonna say. Lost my train of thought. Anyway,
What we also remember, you said somebody was riding down into another, what was it, another county or?
yeah, the next county over, it's reported that they've actually saw other tabernacle tents in our area, which that's huge
Hallelujah.
because we've actually thought we were the only ones. You know, the only other people that has visited us on this from for a feast day or anything like that was from Texas, Georgia. We haven't seen or heard or anybody from around here.
Hmm.
And so for to actually see people with tabernacle tents up doing tabernacles, yeah, I want to actually find out. I would actually go knock on their door.
Yeah, definitely.
I would go knock on their door. We knew where they were. We'd go knock on their door. Hmm. So, um, let's see what other comments we have. Small town bully said it's Tay. He calling himself Tay. That's for Tay. Lee says yes, there is essential purpose in names and their pronunciations. And so that's, I don't want to pick up, I speak English too, but that's what we're doing now is we spelling our names.
Hmm.
We don't even know what our names are, we just spelling them.
Yeah, you're right.
You go up to the kid and say, what's your name? And the question is, can he spell it? Not do we know what his name is? Like the Indians, right?
Hmm.
You know, my name is Peaceful Dream. My name, they have a meaning to their name. They
Yep.
come up to the kid and say, your name is Ed. What does that even mean? What does Ed mean? I don't know, but he can spell it.
Mm.
He can spell it. He don't know what it means, but he can
Well,
spell
maybe
it.
that's why you have so many people walking around feeling like they have no purpose, 'cause they literally don't know any meaning to their name, and so it kind of leaves them with a sense of just emptiness. Like, what do I do in life? Like, you gotta try and figure it out. But sometimes a lot of times your purpose is in your name.
I'm still waiting for somebody to give us the name Forte. We done wrote that one out. I think he might have it written on his semi truck riding down the highway by now. So we wait for somebody to give us, their name to try. Um, and I say it's got to be your real name, not your YouTube name, Leahy. So she don't count.
Yeah.
But like for instance, the name Cliff and Clifford, which is my name. My mama gave me the name Clifford, which is my daddy's name. But growing up, They call both my daddy and I Cliff. And so what did that do to us? By calling us Cliff, they've taken away the hook,
Mm-hmm.
which is tied to the head and the door. And so they've changed who we are. There is no head and there is no door there, you know, and it's not tied. So all we are is just a hand, a lesson with insight and talking. So we just talking opposed to being a head. And do you see that kind of stuff here where you see me just talking, but not really the head? That's
Mm-hmm.
because I'm known here as Cliff opposed to Clifford.
Mm.
And we do that to everybody's name. We changing who they are. And so there it would be why you have people walking around. You ain't nobody.
Mm.
You we started off giving you a name like Joseph, and we now calling you Joe. What is a Joe? It's a hook, it's a hand tied to what? We don't even know what it's tied to. You need something else after the Joe.
That's true.
And so now you walking around in the street trying to figure out what's supposed to be tied to your Joe, and it's just your real name, the Seth, the support, that E. If you're gonna keep that E in there, a man raising his hands in prayer with an open mouth.
Mm.
Just that easy. We took all that from you by calling you Joe. And we do the same thing when we call our father Yah. His what we want to say is Yahweh Shawana.
Right.
And so we saying Yahweh Shawana, 6 syllables. That's 6 different letters. That's the hand reaching out to the man with his hands raised, tying him to a spearman raised hands. That's Yahweh. And then when you recognize that that last spirit or that last man raising hands when you get to the sun has now changed to Shawana. And so that's something, we could get in and try to figure out how is a man raising his hands? The H at the end of Yahweh, the same as, let me go look at my board here. Go ahead. I can almost show y'all this, but I got flies flying around. You when you start off, he's going to the restroom. I believe I'm gonna give him the microphone and do the same thing. But when you start off with the name Yahweh, you have 4 syllables. But when you get to the New Testament, you're talking about the Messiah, like in there in Matthew chapter 1 and verse 21, it says Yahweh Shawana. And so the only difference is the Shah at the end. And so when you're putting these side by side, you have the yod in both, the hawa in both, the hook or the wawa, which is the hook in both. But then the last letter, you have a man raising his hand with our creator, and then you have the teeth, which represents destruction, and then the hook, which represents tying to the nana, which is representing a seed. So somehow this man hands has turned into teeth tied to a seed. And so if you can understand that, you can understand the difference between the creator and the savior. All right, you hold the mic. I'm going back through there. Talk to him, Joe. Be Joseph.
All right. All right. So we're gonna talk about a few of my adventures on the hillbilly homestead. Um, let's see. Learned how to kind of drive a tractor. That was fun. I almost ran over Coach. Uh, let's see. Yeah, it was amazing. It was an amazing time being out here. I really hope some of those listening can actually come out and experience it for themselves. We learned we did a lot of pumping water. Um, I want to say Coach is a genius when it comes to being able to engineer a lot of stuff, you know, only having limited resources at times. But yeah, man, we did a lot of praise and worshiping, and that was a a personal experience we had to learn. What else did we learn out here? Well,
What did you just talk about? I ain't heard.
I was talking about all the stuff I was learning about, living on a homestead and
Oh yeah, what do you think about the homestead living? You got to tell them. See, the last guys that came here, I was hoping they would like tell everybody like, what do you see?
yeah,
What do you see? What do you think about the hillbilly homestead?
I like it. I like it. It's spacious. It's plenty of resources. Learning about the different gardening techniques that I never knew. I did mention that I almost ran you over on the tractor.
Oh, the tractor.
Yeah.
Yeah, he got out there on the tractor. Well, so you learn how to drive a stick real quick
Yeah, I learned how to drive a stick.
to drive the tractor. And you actually plowed. Did you plant something?
Yeah, I don't think I planted, but I did plow. I did help plow the field with it.
Yeah, we got. I think we planted some grass seed or something out there.
Yeah, a lot of grass seeds.
Oh no, well yeah, no, it was bread seed
The bread seed, the rye
for
bread.
ryegrass for Pentecost.
Okay.
Yeah, I was willing. Y'all pray for us now. Joseph helped us plant our uh, bread for cost. We already thinking about Pentecost.
Oh yeah. Yeah, that's the thing about the beast that I realize is like a lot of times people get kind of caught off guard and are unprepared for them because they're not thinking about them ahead of
Ahead of
time.
time, yeah.
And you really have to be on top of it. So
Yeah, because you're thinking about you have to do an offering made by fire 7 days.
mhm.
That's a lot of food. Where you gonna get it from? And yeah, it's real easy to say we're just gonna go to Walmart every day, but we're not really sure that's what he intended us for us to do.
Right,
It's like he wanted us to be self-sustainable, growing our own food.
right.
And so some of us need to start actually putting some eggs in the incubator now, getting ready for Hanukkah. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
And so that's months of preparation. Months
definitely.
of preparation, and then you think, if you really want a good buy thigh, there's some work to be done there. And
Hmm.
then, like you're talking about, having a representation of the complete alphabet here, that would take some work too.
Definitely.
You got to get you a shepherd's crook.
Yeah.
You gonna make it? You gonna
Sure.
buy
Yeah.
it? 7 people like it. Sorry about that, y'all. I'm such a klutz. Oh, man, I thought I had a lot of battery power. Sorry about that. Hey, Brother Joseph, we're going to have to move indoors. Should get some other power. That's good. We can come in here with the library and stuff is that in case he want to tell y'all about some of these books or pull one off the shelf and read something to you. We'll have to come in. This is where I usually have to broadcast from. You guys attached to that window right there. So you can get both the Wi-Fi and the other thing, if we have other thing available. So, but we're back. What we were talking about. We still got 3 people looking. 7 people like it. Let's see if we got any more comments. Oh, we got some names to work on. Oh, we got some names to work on. We gonna call your name. We gonna call your name. God's my salvation says, listen and you might learn. Lord, check. Wait, we gotta go back over. Wait, we got number. Okay, we almost forgot. Yah is my salvation says the name is Kenata. Let's pronounce it all. Kahananaatha. Kaena. Kahena Nahetha. It's the way you spelled it. You spell it ha ha na ha tha. But what we're learning And when we met, and that's the spelling of your name. That's who your mother wanted you to be. Now, the E's, in English, they are silent. There was no vowel sounds in Hebrew whatsoever. And so if we were to ignore the spelling, we get ka, na, tha. Kanata. And that's kind of the way we pronounce it, Kenneth. But we don't say Kaneth or Kanath, right? It's not Kanath, it's Kenneth. Make sense? Joseph? Watch. This is what I'm saying. Sorry you guys can't see this. But I'm writing it backwards. You had K, E, N, N, E, T, H. Now in Hebrew, there would be kafa, which is a hand. It would be hawa'a, that's that E sound, that's a man raising his hand. It would be nana, which is a C. There's two of those. Then you have the man raising his hands again, the hawa'a, followed by the thawa. Now we eliminate the, I don't know. Because, like I said, he didn't say ka-net. If he'd have said ka-net, now you know it's just the kafa, right? But he said ken. And so that H is actually there, right? The K-E is because he said ki. If he'd have said kai, that would be an ion. Get it? Mm-hmm. And so by saying ki, it's either gonna be the God or the het. But in this case, they letting us know because they have the E there, letting us know because it translates, if you look at your book, it alliterates back to the 8th sound. So now you have pronounce both in his name because you're saying ken, net. So now does he have two C's back to back in his name? Or are we saying ki, net? See, in my name, you have Cliff Ford. Now, are you pronouncing both?
Not necessarily.
I don't know. Cliff Ford.
And Ford. Yeah.
Cliff Ford.
You kind of are.
You kind of are pronouncing both. But now, you rarely see two of the same letters back to back. So, but if it was, it's a double C. And then you say nith again. Kenneth again. So again, you have the man raising his hand. So that would be his whole name. Kafa, Hawa'a, Nana, Hawa'a, Thawa. And you say, what does that mean? You start from the back. The Thawa is the covenant. So his name is attached to the covenant. The next letter is a man raising his hands in prayer associated with the covenant. So a man raising his hands in prayer for the covenant as he's praying to get the covenant. And then you have a seed, which is talking about birth, creation, and this. You have two of those, followed by another man raising his hands in prayer, which all implies, what is he praying? Covenant. So a Kenneth, to me, would be some type of farmer, some type of nurturer, something with these double seeds in there growing. He's growing something, whether it's children or plants or something. Something's growing. He's praying about it, leading them to the covenant. Starting off praying about it, leading them to the covenant, but it's all dealing with his hands. Mm-hmm. And so he's going to be a Kenneth is a hands-on, a hands-on nurturer leading people to the covenant. But what if you just call him Kenny or Ken? You done took the covenant away. Yeah. You done took the seeds away. That double seed means something, but you took away half of it. And now you just had, well, I ain't going to say just, but what you end up with is a kafa, which is a hand, a man raising his hand, and a seed. So this is a farmer. A Ken is a farmer. Yeah, he's trying to grow some stuff. Interesting. But do that. We're going. All right, y'all. We're taking comments. I don't know if we're taking many more names. Kenny jumped on it. Kenny's are fast too. We got Kenneth are fast. All right, let's see what else we got. We got Lord Channing says, when I began to understand my name, I began to reverse our Father in heaven. I began to reverence our Father in heaven to a more serious manner. Yeah, I think we all did, didn't you? So,
Oh yeah.
So by taking and truncating our names, we're taking our Father out of our names. They taking God away by calling us Cliff and Joe and Tay. We didn't took away. So is that how they're truncating our names? They're finding out how to take the Father element out of our name. Took my head away, took your voice away. Interesting. God's my salvation. Say, listening, you might learn. That's true. Lord Chaney says, Laura Lamada Reyes Alaf. Lamada Reyes Alaf. Laura. And notice she didn't say Laura. If she just said Laura, you'd have a hook in there to represent the O. But she said Laura, which means it's just a lamada, right? And that's key to understanding the Hebrew language. Anytime you hear basic sounds like ah, ba, ga, da, ma, ha, la, those are all just a basic letter. But when you say he, ho, who, now you have to use another letter to represent, what you're saying. And so that's how we're learning Hebrew. Going back to the pure language, this has been the return of the pure language. If you guys want to get in on it, you can go over to the store, coachinginthefight.shop, and look for the Alabayatha chart. And you'll learn each letter and its origins in the Bible, where it came from, what it means according to the Bible. And then you'll get to look at the evolution of the letter from the, you said paleo, this is actually pre-paleo. This is the actually original letters, but these go back to Abraham's time, way before Babylon. And so, but you're able to trace these letters all the way to our letters. Like you go from the Allah to the letter A, and they can see that chart and how we did that for each of the letters in the Alabayatha, and particularly like the letter Chet. Where did it go? Or Chawatha makes the Ch sound. It went to the letter X. Yeah, and so that's the kind of stuff we're learning, and it's not counterintuitive. Some of those letters took a lot of work. But what you got the chart? You took it outside. Yeah. Matter of fact, let me get the one off the board. You guys go over to coachinginthefight.shop. Look, it's free. It's a PDF, so you ain't gotta worry about it. It's a PDF that you can put on your phone and keep a look at if you want to study these letters. You want to get it printed out if you can. Because like it said, it goes through and points out each and gets to the Alabayatha. So, and again, it has the Strong's number. Like if you go to Strong's H410, you see the letter or to see the word Allah. And then on this chart, you can see how it changed until the letter A. And you can see that for each of them. And then when you get down to the letters down at the end, you see how the last two letters, there's no representation in the English letter. So, and then you see that the other letters are, you see that, for Shin, there's no letter. For, you could transliterate it over to the W, but the W doesn't make the sh sound. No. Right? But that's where they get that. That's where that comes from. And the thou, there is no English letter for that. You have to use two letters, T and a H. And then you see up here while other letters have been duplicated, like the Yod is both the I, the Y, and the J in English. So that one letter in Hebrew is actually 3 letters in English. And same with the hawaha, the hook. You can see it as a U, a V, or a W. Every time you see a U, a V, or a W, you could almost assume that it's going to trace back to the hawa'a. So if you think about it, yes, the English language has 26 letters, but they're doubling them and they've lost them. So the English language actually only has 20 letters, 20 sounds. Some people try to, we're going back, and the reason why is because we've taken out the covenant, and we've taken out the shin, which is talking about, what's going to help us get to that covenant, the destruction part. We're going to return to this pure language, whether we want to or not. We're going back. Have no other choice. We don't even understand our own names if we don't go back. Yeah. So you have to go back. Yeah. Got to go back to the pure language. Praise our Father in heaven for his word and books like Psalms in chapter 119. If you want to learn, if you want to learn on the fly, go to Psalms in 119 and look at the words, the significant words at the beginning of each verse, like bless. You'll find out what his Hebrew word is. It may take a little more than that, but anyway, let's go. Well, you know what? Outside, before we got cut off, we was talking about the hillbilly homestead. So, what do you think about the house?
The house is great, man. The fact that you were able to build this by hand and reconstruct it, from what it used to be is like that. That's incredible. I'm like, I'd never be able to do that. I'm gonna just say that.
Well, it's the Lord, and no, as you will, we all will, it ain't me, it ain't these boys, it's actually him and his plan. And so, yeah, we were, a little bit, worried at first, but then when you start praying and you see how he blesses your hands and stuff just started to work, then you get in that groove and you just keep going, and next thing you know, you got something. And see, the thing about it, after the earth is humbled, all of these houses, especially the brick houses, fall down. We're going to have to be able to get back in something quick, because, the government, the CIA has done stuff 3 days, and we're going to start losing a lot of people from exposure, because we don't have a bayita. But we've been learning over the course of the years. Like in this one, we actually built one, pretty good. We can stay in a worst case scenario. And, and that's what this is all about, being able to take something it's pretty much been knocked down, because this whole house, it fell off the foundation, its own blocks, and it was leaning. And so just jacking it back up and then getting something and getting in it and then being able to go out and help the other people, because they're going to be in situations too. Everybody's going to have to be able to create a bayita from vegetation and scraps and whatever you can find.
Yeah, definitely. And what about finding water? I guess you'd have to rely, and that time you'd have to rely on the angels to lead you to those water places.
Well, that's the only scriptural hope for water is angelic help. He says he's going to lead us to the water. Yeah. And we've seen how he does that. Stacy and I, we talked about it in a video one time, how on the Sabbath day, it was almost like a dream, but it was more like a vision where he told me where water was. And sure enough, when I went down there, I just had to scratch the ground 2 inches and water started pouring out of the ground. Yeah. And so now you know the spot. And this is a matter of going and just put a well right there. Spot. There's 12 acres. And he pointed me to the exact spot where, all I had to do was scratch the ground. And it would happen to be at that time. Because if you go down there now, you're going to need a shovel. Yeah. Because we've been in the drought for a little while. But still, the water it's only dropped down a few feet. It may be 10 feet, it may be 20 feet. But we can get with a drill well, something that, costs a few, a little bit of money compared to that well that's out there, which would, nobody, I wouldn't be able to afford it. You talk about, tens of thousands of dollars to actually build a well, opposed to something you can do for tens of dollars. Yeah. And that's the Father leading us to the water, and he plans to lead every individual to the water. Even where you're at down there, he has a water source already. It's already there. You just don't know it, and when it comes that time, he's going to lead you to it. But now the food, we're going to have to work for that a little bit. The water is fast. If you don't have water in 3 days, you're going to pretty much start going downhill.
Oh, we learned. So I suffer from allergies from time to time, and so we were able to find some goldenrod and mullein
Mullen. Yeah.
and make some tea, and it actually helped my allergies clear up pretty good.
Yeah.
I was surprised.
So you're learning healing herbs and stuff. You know, you ask a few days. The first day you say, "What do you do for allergies?" What I say, I take vitamins. and mainly because it's been a Jubilee year and it's a medical year. We ain't been trying to put the herbs in the store, so I ain't forgot about them. But you know, I will he intervened at some point. It's like, hey, why don't we just look it up and see what herbs are grow here?
Right.
And we even pushed in 8B. I told him 8B, which is where you live too. So these will be growing in your backyard if you stop mowing your grass.
Yeah.
You'll have them growing there too. And he came up with what, 6 or 7 different plants. It just so happened that we had 2 of them right here already growing.
Yeah, and they work pretty good. So
you got them out there drying in the sun now. You ain't gonna forget them.
I hope I don't forget them.
Yep. So you'll take them, and once they get dry, just crunch them up and put them in a bag like these figs. You can even add some of this to it. That'll help your sugar, help maintain your sugar level.
Yeah, the fig leaves up with the blood sugar.
Yeah. So I've been getting herbs. A lot of stuff going on here at the Hillbilly Homestead. You guys should be proud. Y'all sent a good one here. You hear me, a lot of times I'm worried, when we have visitors, especially from online. And the last case was from Instagram, and it didn't go nearly as well. But you guys, he's solidly from YouTube. How long you been listening? Tell them how long you been listening to the channel.
I was looking for something dealing with the 144,000, and I wanted to know how to know when the actual proper feast days were, because a lot of groups had different feast dates that ranged a month apart from each other. So you're almost looking at 2 different seasons. So people were celebrating a fall feast, and so I came across the channel in about 2019, and I've been listening to it ever since. I think I've watched over 1,000 videos by this point. I probably watched more than some of the people living here.
Yeah, definitely. He's literally watched more than the people living here. Y'all heard it. And like I say, it's great because he knows everything. He's watched every video. There hasn't been one story that I've told that he didn't actually see the video. And the only ones were ones we didn't actually make. He's watched all of these videos, so it's perfect. He's already knows what's going on. I haven't had to teach him anything. In fact, I believe he's taught me more than I've taught him since he's been here. And that's the beauty of it, because when he comes around my boys, they said, they're glad to see that we ain't alone in this. There's other people, and they have the same mentality, the same zeal, the same faith, the same strength.
Yeah, just even bringing your voice and singing with them, with singing the songs and waving the branches. Before I knew it, Chris was practicing on his saxophone. Yeah. Who knows how long it's been since he touched it.
It's been years and years since he touched it. And just being here and having the support of another brother who's in the law has done this family some good. And I think it's going to go a long way as far as the boys are concerned, because they haven't had anything to go on other than me, and to actually see somebody else, I think is going to help them a lot.
Yeah, because I was working beside them, helping to move, firewood and all of that stuff. So, you get to talk to them and get to know them. A lot of them are quiet, but
especially the twins. I think they have their own language that they speak in telepathically.
They do.
But so that's great. Like I said, you guys y'all sent a great guy this time. Even snoring a lot. He's like, I heard this today. Day one. What's the benefit of what do you think the benefit of having somebody that snores really loudly in the house? What do you think that is? How do you think that's a blessing?
I don't know. You gonna get less sleep, but you're gonna be light sleep.
You know when they are asleep. Your wife gets to have fun through the house. She's going through and doing anything she wants. She's cleaning, she's singing, she's dancing because you making so much noise back there. She knows when she's disturbing you and when you're at. And look, if she makes a noise, you get quiet. All she has to do is be quiet for a minute. Wait till you get back in, and then she can start back with her party in the middle of the night. That's great for, especially when you're on night shift.
Yeah.
Or as a police officer, yeah, as a sheriff working for the sheriff, and that reminds me of the class we did, the armor.
Yeah.
You remember that? We got that to produce, but we hear about the whole armor of God, y'all. You ought to hear it from the perspective of the law enforcement officer. It really makes a difference, right?
Oh yeah.
Because we hear about the helmet of salvation and what it said, gird about the loins with what? What was we gird about with the loins with?
That's a duty belt.
Yeah, and it turns out to be a duty belt. And so we're looking at this sheriff deputy, even, imagine him having all of these things on. His shield, which is his badge, his helmet, his belt, which holds all of his tools that he needs, his weapon, his taser, his flashlight, his radio, and all of that stuff. And you have his boots, which was peace or something like that.
Yeah.
And then you have the sword, which is the word of God. And so you think about a person in law enforcement or military actually putting down any of those three-dimensional elements and then going out into the battle or going out into the fight. They're going to be completely defenseless.
Yep.
And that's where we are now. We're all expected to be in this fight. And so that's why it's important for us to have these. A helmet of salvation. That means we're able to fight off the wiles, those fiery darts coming in as people try to harm us. We actually have something to lead on, knowing that, we're not going to be raptured away, flied away. We're actually going to be here to inherit the earth that is owed to us. It's ours anyway.
Yeah.
Interesting. Let's see. Let's go back to the comments section. We got TTY44K says Shalawama or Shalom. Shalawama. Leia says love the nature sounds of the background. Yeah, well, we didn't came indoors. That has been a part of the show. What do you think about that part? I actually intentionally let the animal sounds be in the show, so what do you actually think about being around? You hardly don't even know it, son. Don't even pay attention. And that's why. How can you block it out?
Yeah, you can't.
They are part of it. Yeah. And that's one of the things, about the Hillbilly Homestead is maybe even not so much as on purpose, is we are getting back to the natural things. We do have a bunch of squirrels running around, and we got one less squirrel running around. We'll tell them about the squirrel. Because we have to tell them about mistakes that we made and the hard lessons that we learned.
Yeah, so the squirrels tend to eat the pecan trees up pretty good. So much so you won't have anything left. And so just trying to, do a little bit of culling. And so Coach hands me the rifle and he's like, man.
Because I couldn't see it.
Yeah, he couldn't see the squirrel. I could see it. And so we took the squirrel down. Well, Rocco, trying to help, rushed over, grabbed it before we could find out where the blood landed.
Right.
And so we couldn't find where to, bury the blood and cover it up. And what happened after that?
And when I went to put the rifle back up where it was supposed to be, it fell. Somehow or another, it was me. I made a maneuver, and the rifle fell off the shelf and cracked. Have you seen it? Oh, he's gonna blow. Y'all listen to this man reaction when you see this rifle. He ain't seen it since I dropped it. I'm so embarrassed I ain't told no. You ain't gonna believe it. Close your eyes.
Oh my! And you snapped it clean in half, like a tree branch, just
like somebody broke it over their knee.
Yeah.
Literally, like somebody broke it over their knee.
That is.
And yeah.
Man. Mike, you said you was gonna glue it back together.
We're going to yeah, just like that. Yeah. And so now I could, if I wanted to, make me a pistol grip 22.
Yeah.
Right. But I don't know if they legal or not. But that's how it's broke. And it's because I did not find the blood. You know, I can blame it on the dog if I wanted to, but knowing what I know now, I should sprinkle everything. I should have been tossing it up out there because it's just that important. And I thank the Lord that he did so in the form of a rifle instead of my leg or my arm, because it very well could have been that. You know, and so we learned that kind of lesson. That was my arm at one time, was my hand, because I got my hand burnt. You remember that?
Yeah, you did burn your hand. I burnt my finger.
Yeah.
But praise the Father in heaven, you know, mine wasn't enough where I could feel it the next day or even an hour later. Really.
You see mine?
Yes.
Second degree? Yeah. And so what happened there, my dog, for about the first time ever, walked through the fence and walked to another property. And I was trying to chase him back, threw a stick at him, and actually hit him on the Sabbath day. That was the thing. I struck the dog on the Sabbath day, and within an hour later, I done scorched my hand. And so we had many things like that. Not many, about 3 things like that made me realize why we're in the Feast of Tabernacles. We are here when our planet or our position relative to the stars, we're in the judgment period. And so during this judgment period, we're asked to tabernacle and sit down. Some wouldn't even dare leave such a thing. And I believe it's because we're in this time when the spiritual valley is low. And if we make mistakes, we're going to be held accountable for them. And so our Father, knowing this, is actually telling us to sit down during this time. Don't be out here doing this. Don't be out here doing that. We've even gone through the atonement day process, purifying ourselves up so that we can sit here now and be safe. Could you imagine if we was out doing bad stuff in the world, doing tabernacles? Mm-hmm. I think that's the time when we're going to get hammered. And the thing about it, we have a prophetic fulfillment too. Sure, this is a yearly thing, and I believe it goes from what I've learned. Yeah, this is a yearly thing. You don't want to break any laws or make any type of that kind of mistake during tabernacles. You can pay for it real quick.
Definitely.
Well, we got the prophetic fulfillment, which is the years around 2031 to 2039. Those 8 days will be the prophetic fulfillment of the Feast of Tabernacles. That's the time when we fully expecting New Jerusalem to come down. The hour of the conscience, where we are all speaking to our Father through spirit to spirit communication. Well, I believe it's during that week, that year, or that 8-year long week. And this is more than a belief now, because I heard the scripture that says that when he comes down during that week, whether it's 2034 or 2031 or whenever, he's going to expect our bayatah, which is our spirit, our bodies, our tabernacle, to be pure and holy. And if it's not, first of all, he's going to be rejected off, just like this bottle if it was closed. He can't even get in. Right. He's trying to get into our vessel, but because we are sinful, because we are breaking the law, because we don't have that oil, he now is bouncing off. And the same, if he does get in and we do commit a sin, he's coming out. His spirit, it will not dwell in an unclean place. And so that's why these 10 years of repentance has been so important. And these trial period that we're going to go here over the next few years. Just so when we get to the prophetic fulfillment, nobody's going to make a mistake. Nobody's going to make an error. We're going to realize how important it is. And so thank the Lord, our Father in heaven, that he's given us so many dress rehearsals, even in this one where we're learning these hard spots. I'm glad my finger got burnt. I'm glad it well. I'm a little ashamed of it, but the lesson behind is so important that, yeah, I'm on YouTube Live talking about it. I would almost take a picture of it with so many flies walking around here.
Yeah, and even the boys learned about, the priestly duties when it comes to when you're making the offerings by fire and making sure you burn the feathers.
Burn the waste products, yeah. Because, we had one time when I came out and I happened to find them. And I thought about waking everybody up, and I didn't. I went ahead and took care of it myself, But then it happened again the next day. And now we have to have a covenantal discussion, going back to the covenant. And there was a lot of that, to realize that actually leaving the fat of the offering until the next day is breaking the covenant. And there was some debate about that, but now, thank the Lord, during this Feast of Tabernacles, we all know that to the point where I think nobody will forget it, right?
Right.
I mean, it's a lesson, that's highly important.
Can I talk about real quick the fact that I had like at least 4 deja vus
Yeah,
since
go
I
ahead.
showed up? The first one actually felt like I had a dream about it. Like I remember telling my wife, I was like, "Hey, I had a dream. I met Coach and Miss Stacy." And she actually had, she's told me the same thing. She was like, "You remember I had a dream too, the same way." And I was like, "I don't remember." But I was like, "I remember my
Wow, boy, yeah.
dream. I remember my dream." And then I kept having like multiple deja vus where it was like, I would all of a sudden remember I was in this setting. And Coach, you explained it a little bit deeper than what I remember.
What I say? I can't
You
remember.
said it was like something with was it
Oh, the
multiverse?
multi. Yeah, we learned in the Keys of Enoch that not only are we in a multi-universe, which it means there are other parallel universes in existence. And of course, our Father is over all of them. That's what the purpose of the Christ seed is to come into that particular universe and save those people in that universe when they're ready. So the thing about it, we also learned that we are actually on 9 of these planets or 9 of these universes at one time. I believe that's where they get the idea from 9 lives.
Hmm.
Because it says that there are 9 planets that we exist on at all times in our body. That when we can spiritually travel to these different places at different times. And so with that, now we start to put 2 and 2 together, and we start kind of going back to what we learned. Some of them shows like the Twilight Zone. I hate to think about it like that, but somebody like, what? The Twilight Zone. But when you try to connect it, what's going on, if we truly have these 9 different lives, I have 8 other families somewhere else in 8 other universes. What are we doing? Aren't they all supposed to be at the tabernacles at the same time? And so I believe that's why you're having a deja vu moment, is because you and I are actually in another place, or something that is going on where you've seen this happen in another universe. Make sense?
Right, just with slight alterations on what actually, I guess, took place over the course of the week, but with similar momentary events.
Think about it, and I know we're kind of making up stuff here, but think about what if on one of the previous universes we met earlier, like years earlier.
Hmm.
Because I've been a jerk on this universe, so it take me some years to be able to accept company. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so maybe on another universe I didn't have so many. I wasn't so bad, and so we didn't all united by now.
Yeah.
Yeah, on the other universe, it's like 100 people here, and we all partying together. Dang. Let's see who else we have. Authentic or Nothing Ministries is blessings, everyone. That's another thing you learn, is how to say God bless you. Want to talk about that? Practice. You got to practice.
Ava, Baraka, yeah.
Our Baraka, yeah. And that's important to understand because, again, in English, we're spelling. And so when you look up the words that make up the word bless, it's Bayata, Lamada, support, right? It's going to have a different meaning than Baraka, which has the head element in it and the hand in there, right? So when you look at bless and Baraka, what's similar besides the B at the beginning? But they're totally different. And again, so we're spelling words. We think we know what we're saying, but when we say God bless you, what are we really saying? Technically, we don't know. We can try to put the letters together. The closest I think I came to is crush. The word bless means crush. Like I crush you, or God crush you. And so that's why it's important to return back to the pure language, especially when you're doing something like trying to bless somebody. What if you're using the wrong word?
Right.
And
Now you might be cursing them.
well, and yeah, we are, because the English language is backwards. So you didn't reverse everything you didn't say. That's where they get bail from. You understand that?
Yeah.
Do you?
To a degree.
Look, you have the word Abba, or you have the word Allah, right? Wait. Let's see. Let me get this right. I done did it one time. It's backwards. You have. I might not be able to do it this time. Okay, here you go. So you have L at the end, right? And at the end, at the beginning, you have Abba, right? Which is supposed to be spelled like Ah. I did this before. Hold on. Ah, la, ba. So it's supposed to be. Um, I gotta mess it up. The thing about it, I can't remember it right now. But what you're doing is you're reversing the letters. Instead of saying ah ba, you're saying ba ah, and with the lesson at the end, you end up with Bell. And so they've reversed his name to get Bell instead of Abba. They getting, there's a lot. I can't get it right now, but that's the reversal of the letters is Bell. And so when you think about it, that's who the Bell worshipers are. They're just reversing the name and they're reversing everything about them, right? And so in English, we're doing that. That's what we're doing, especially when we're spelling. When we're spelling our names, we're spelling our names backwards. And we just said a few minutes ago, we're finding our Father in our names, but in spelling, they got us spelling them backwards.
Right.
So they making our relationship with them backwards.
Trying to.
We're gonna return to this new language. Feast of Tabernacles is truly the best experience to live, move, and have our beings in the Most High. Yeah. You ain't got. Do you have to tear down your bayatah? I don't know. Somebody, I bet we don't tear them down in 2034.
I don't know.
We're gonna live in them.
Yeah.
We're gonna live in them. And think about it, if we do these tabernacles, thank the Lord we got a little more time. If we do these tabernacles and feast of dedications correctly, we can actually build a good bayatah, good enough for us to actually live in. I mean, you don't have to be in it all day.
Right.
Just, to escape the elements and to sleep in. And so after you done got your bayatah and the other elements to make it up, even a place to cook your food, that's what the altar is for. It's just a stove outside, a fire pit outside. Right. And he tells us to make it in that way so we don't compete. I ain't got no big elaborate, made out of brick block thing and yours is a hole in the dirt and, you think it's something wrong with yours. The way he describes them, we got to keep them, the best you could do is put some rocks around it.
Yeah.
And so it's just a basic place for you to cook your food. So you got a tent, someplace to cook your food, and then the rest of the stuff, you go through each one of these elements during the Feast of Tabernacles, you've created your life. You got your tools to do your work. That's your Zana, your Hawa'ah, it's another tool. We talked about it yesterday. What was the other tool? The weeding tool, that's your Zana. The hook, that's your Hawa'ah. You got your support, you need that. There's another tool in there, I can't find it. Oh, the Lamada, that's your sheep.
Sheep.
So you got your weeding tool for your garden and your Lamada for your sheep. So he's telling us to grow food and grow animals to eat. Yep. And so the houses, the food, the fire, everything we need is in tabernacles. And that's what he's doing. Over the course of us doing tabernacles, once we get this right, we will literally be rebuilding our existence outside of Babylon stuff because their walls going to be fell and we're going to be tabernacling with him. Y'all's increase says Coach will be back shortly. He says, Laye, I agree. This has been the best tabernacle experience by far for us. Yeah, and I was thinking about this too. Yes, everybody is how great this tabernacle is this year. Think about it. When it was cold, everybody was talking about how cold it was. When it was wet, everybody was talking about how wet it was. And when it was bad, everybody was talking about how bad it was. So we're all together.
Yeah.
It's raining on all of us. It's freezing us all out. We all getting too hot or whatever. And now we're getting here and we are being blessed on tabernacles too. So we all are celebrating together around the world, even experiencing the same stuff. Yeah. I mean, it was, really interesting in them years when they was talking about it's cold, can I go home? And I'm like, I'm cold too. I can't go home. Kenneth Leslie says, okay. Hey C says, I want to know why God put me just to goddamn me all my life. First of all, let's talk about that word right there. You know that ain't a cuss word. They say that's blaspheming the name.
Yeah, I used to have people say that all the time.
You know what it actually means?
What?
The word damn means stop. Like you're stopping something up.
Mm-hmm.
So what you're saying is stop this. God, stop this. And so that's why you come in and you say, you still don't want to say it, but that's what you're saying. God, stop this mess that's going on here. And people are kind of saying it, they like you was somebody say, oh Lord. But what's wrong with saying, oh Lord, if you really call it on the name, it will work. And so what we've done essentially is say that people are taking the name in vain, but actually they may be. Do they really want God to stop what's going on? Do they really want Father to intervene in what they're doing or what's going on, which is what they're asking for when you say that phrase. You're asking for him to intervene and actually stop it, just make it cease, And so is that really what you want? I think some people, if they knew what it meant, would actually use it correctly.
Yeah.
Anyway, I don't think I could ever do it, but anyway, let's go on. What does it say? I want to know why God put me, I guess, here. So the reason why is because of what you did in your previous lifetimes and or what you got to do in this lifetime. See, everything that we go through is for merits, good, bad, or indifferent. They're for merits. If I burnt my hand, I think I know why I burnt my hand. I don't know for sure. It could be for something else coming good down the road. It could have been something that I got to make up for that I did in the past, but it could be for something that's about to happen. Like, for instance, I had a lot of things that happened before you guys came, like toothaches and stuff, and I knew, this is giving me merits so that things will go better over the course of the feast day, else I got to get popped some other way. So either you're here going through hell because you're paying for what you did in your lifetime, or you're getting prepared for what you got coming in this lifetime. For instance, you may be a minister, because I'm going through hell too. Right. Everybody's got to go through something, but it's a strengthening to prepare us for where we are supposed to be in life.
Yeah, fulfill that love mission.
Fulfill the love mission.
That's the thing a lot of people are overlooking. They get so focused on themselves, but they're forgetting that they have a mission, a love mission to fulfill. Right.
And that thing about it, just like boot camp, you can't just walk in the military and talk about, give me a gun, let me go. You got to go through something.
Right.
You got to, and to the extent that who you are, you got to go through something. See, I was a pistol pusher in the military, personnel information systems management specialist. I got to go to what they call Fort Disneyland. It was literally the most plush boot camp in all of the world, because they knew I was going to be sitting behind a desk. They had one guy that was there from.
Yeah, they ain't trying to break your hands.
They ain't no. We didn't even get dirt on our fingernails. We out there. Look, I had women living in the bed right across the thing. We could almost throw love letters across because they was gonna be there in the office with us. We all a bunch of office workers, and so they had one guy came in that was from the infantry, and they felt sorry for him. They called him out like, "How did you end up here? In this, you supposed to be infantry and this." Other. And I thought about it years later, the way he was and that type of person, he was gonna be that. He was that dude that Yeah, he was gonna be infantry, but he was gonna be commanding the infantry, that dude. And so they put him in a lush environment.
Okay.
He wasn't gonna be digging foxholes.
Right.
And so, but what about the person that's special forces? He gonna get to be plush too? No, he going through
Oh,
it.
he going through it
He
all.
going through it all. He gonna get dumped on from day one.
Yeah, I had a friend. Certain. It was like almost as if they profiled and knew exactly who certain people were because class got trained by the Rangers.
Yeah.
So they went through brutal training. He said he must have lost like 50 pounds. He was so skinny when he came out,
Yeah.
out of basic.
And so you have to be trained different based on who you are and your mission, right? If you sign up to be a ranger, you better be ready, And some of these guys are wanting to get in this fight seriously, want to even I hate to say it, but some of them want to be of this chosen seed, and I'll go ahead and say it. Some of them are calling themselves 144,000, and the second you do that, you done throw yourself into the mix.
Yep.
Yeah.
Right into the special forces.
Right into special forces, yeah. It's like you being sitting around all of us, pencil pudding, you sitting over there bragging, I'm special forces. And then the special forces recruiters actually hear you. Well, they coming to grab you. Come on, you don't belong in here with these guys. You ain't normal. Come on over here. And now you about to find out what special forces have to go through. And so that could be another reason. The thing about it, don't never blame our father for it. It's your fault.
Yep.
Good, bad, or indifferent, it's your fault. It's your fault. The only thing he did about it is he gave you some scripture to help you deal with it. You shouldn't be blaming him for that. He is your father in heaven, just like your daddy walking around. He ain't never gonna harm you.
And ain't that something that's the first? That's who they want to blame first.
Yeah.
It's not. I don't want to blame my past life. I don't want to blame my current life and what I'm doing, bad or wrong, or otherwise.
Just expect God to treat them nicely, or the Father, or everything to treat them nice. Nature to treat them nicely. The even co-workers and friends, even they expect their wife and family and everybody to be nice when we ain't keeping up and doing what we supposed to be doing, or we done messed up in a previous lifetime, or we asking him for all his power and gifts and stuff. Mm-hmm. Either way, it's you, it's us, it's him.
Yeah, go back and look at what happened to the disciples when they was asking for special positions in the kingdom.
Yeah.
They had to pay for it with their life.
Mm-hmm. So you might be that guy. Hey, see, you might be that guy. We might have to all follow you one day. And if we have to follow you, you think you ain't gonna have to be tough enough? Could you imagine if we had to follow somebody, how tough they would have to be?
Yeah.
He could be that guy. Yeah. So be proud. And let me tell you this before we go home. If you ain't heard nothing I say, praise the Lord in it. No matter what's going on, praise the Lord. If you having it rough, you should be cheering. You should be glad. Yep. If you done did something bad in your lifetime and you having to pay for it now, you should be glad. You should be actually happy. You being in law enforcement, I asked you, how do you feel when the guy got the warrant? Do you really think you're doing him a favor? Well, if you are paying for this stuff in your lifetime, the Lord is doing you a favor. If you ain't paying for anything, if you ain't going through nothing, you're really in trouble. So this guy, you should really be blessed, and you should be praising him. You should be praising him for everything you go through. Everybody should stop. Just like my pain. Remember I was sitting there with that water bottle on my hand? Yeah. And then you remember I said, I'm going to put it down. And I started praising the Lord for the pain. And next thing you know, I was like, it's been gone. Ain't thought about it since. Well, as long as you think about the pain, you in pain. The moment you say, I'm going to turn the pain over to the Father and thank him for what I'm going through, 5 minutes later, everything back to normal. And that's what you got to do. You're going to have to give him praise for what you're going through. If you're going through hell, be happy about it. That means you got heaven coming. Blessed is he who is in hell right now. He will be, or blessed is he who is sad now because he's going to be happy later. We got Honey Bunny chiming in, says Shalawama. She says, I appreciate hearing that going down at the Hillbilly Homestead is reality. I pray that my husband and myself can make it out there on the next feast. Tuda Yahweh for sharing this experience. Yep. Thank you, Yahweh.
Yeah, come on down here, man. We need more people.
We tried to get Brother Joseph to come back for Hanukkah, but he gonna be down there at the but you guys can come down. There is room. But I think one thing that was great about having Brother Joseph here, and I'm sure you guys will too, is you come in as if it was your feast.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you didn't come in like you was coming to the Holiday Inn or the amusement park ready to be entertained. Like you said, you've been out there gathering firewood.
Mm-hmm.
He's been actually pumping water.
Yeah.
You pump the water to wash your own
the
clothes.
water so I can wash my clothes and wash myself.
Yeah, and that's great. You know, you got to have that mentality. You know, because you don't want to come here and what they say, have people fanning you with the grapes,
Feeding you grapes,
feeding you grapes.
carrying it on a cart.
This is a homestead. You know, there is a lot of work. The boys, as soon as we finish this video, we're going out there and see what's going on out in the garden. You know, the boys are out there hoeing the garden right now. There may even be some greens to eat out there. It was pretty big last time. We might be able to get us a mess of greens. So, it is real. It is a reality. It's really three-dimensional, right? Everything is real. From the honeybees to the orange trees, everything is real.
Yeah, I had some of the best lemonade.
Made from the orange.
Made from the trees.
Yeah, praise the Lord. And so there's a lot, and there's a lot that can be done. A lot that we ain't taking advantage of here. We at one point we were gathering the herbs and the stuff, but you see how they just growing around if we wanted to. Mm-hmm. And then you have other opportunities to do stuff. Now I think that's what our Father is doing, is He tried to give us the opportunity to get back to nature.
Yeah,
back to His way of doing stuff. So we appreciate you guys too. TTY144K says, is neutering and spaying allowed? Neutering and spaying. Man, we got so many cats and dogs. Neutering and spaying. Thing about it, we have stewardship over the animals. So yeah, you can do what you want to them. I wouldn't harm them. We will get payback if you go out there and mistreat them. Right. But we do have stewardship over them. And neutering and spaying is part of stewardship. You think about how many cats and dogs we had when you showed up. Yeah. Imagine if we didn't believe in neutering and spaying and,
It'd be 100 cats.
It'd be 100 cats, you know what I'm saying? And 100 dogs too. They go and then you can't feed them. No. And then they're getting sick, and now they fighting each other and destroying each other. And so you have to maintain. And so if it's necessary, yeah, you do. And I'll tell you, it's only really a financial burden for me. I would love, there's a few dogs that I would, especially, female dog, or even the male dogs, their temperament changes. They're not interested in, that kind of stuff anymore, and they just become a dog. So, the verse I will reference you, it's a good question, but the verse I reference you to is how we have rule over the animals. We rule the animals. The animals are here for our food, so you can eat them if you want to. Just take a bath afterwards. Leia says, I had a deja vu moment during the celebration as well. You want to tell us about it? You can tell us, generally, because what I think yours generally were being at the feast, with the coach and the fight family, just being around, So what did you deja vu? She says, like the sons of Zebedee. Remember the sons of Zebedee? I don't remember. We had to look that up. Yahusha's response to their mother, are you able to drink of the cup that I will drink? All praises, Abba. Thank you, Coach. And so we're talking about how people have to go through different things. Look how much the Messiah had to go through. He looked at the Messiah. You believe you can take this? Yeah. You believe you can put it? He's like, you couldn't even stay awake for a half hour. Yeah. You think you can hang? And so, the brother earlier that's going through it, like I said, he just might be that dude. I might actually need him in the fight one day. He might actually help some people that, are in dire straits. Because you imagine the people in like Afghanistan, how much they have to go through for this fight? Oh, yeah. They're honing and learning, just planting principles is going to just be way tougher because they got that to deal with. So it's suited for yourself. So give the Father all praise for everything that goes on with us. Good, bad, especially the bad. Because He's helping us. If you're going through something, no matter what, it's necessary. And if you wasn't going through that, you'd actually die. If you didn't go through something, you're gonna die. The when we read the Third Testament and even the other books of the Bible, it is those people who are not going through anything that have the worst to come. The really bad stuff, those things we so scared to read about in the book of Revelation, are slated for the people who have nothing to worry about now. They just happy as they can be. Like the Bible said, blessed is the sad, blessed is the poor, blessed is the hungry. Well, what about the person that's fat right now? What about the person that's happy right now? Are they blessed? No, they got trouble coming.
Yeah.
They got trouble coming. And according to the Third Testament, they got the biggest trouble. Like the people who going through, my brother right here, talking about he living in hell, he ain't got to worry about no nuke. He ain't got to worry about no earthquake. He's already going through his earthquake.
Right.
He's already going through his famine. He ain't got none of that to worry about. It's the people who are enjoying life right now, even balling a little bit, that's got the worst of the worst coming and slated for them. So be blessed, be happy, and give our Father all praise and honor. Honey Bunny says, I lived on a farm as a teenager, so I think we'll be able to handle it. Yeah, and you remember that in kindergarten, they gave y'all that seed to plant in the cup. The reason why, they're trying to remind us they should have did more than that. They should have took us back in the back of the field back there and let us plant some of those peas so we can actually relearn this stuff because it's necessary. You look how many times we had to go to the store here to buy stuff, how many times we was able to eat what we already have. Well, we can keep progressing like that. We won't actually have to have man and his stuff. And hopefully, that'll be before we'll lose man and his stuff. Because all of Babylon is supposed to fall. It could be as early as 2027 that we have to fend for ourselves.
Y'all the coffee drinkers, y'all better be buying some coffee trees.
Coffee trees? Yeah. Yeah. And get them to grow. Yeah. But the thing is, you got the other teas and the stuff.
Yeah.
And, you get to learn.
How to dry your teas and make tea out of, all your different herbs that grow out in the field.
Fig tea. We've been drinking fig tea. You haven't tried the pine needle tea? Oh, we got to go get some pine needles just so you can try some. It ain't hot yet. We're going to get you some pine needle tea. And then you can make iced tea out of it too.
Iced tea?
If you cook the pine needles long enough, they start getting a lemon flavor. And then it kind of tastes like a lemonade kind of thing, yeah. And you can make iced lemonade. Ice. And the thing about pine needle tea, it has the most vitamin C out of any plant that you can get. Even oranges can't compete with pine needle. And so they're actually use it to fight COVID and other, diseases that we're so worried about. Right. And so you think about our Father who actually put so many pine trees around, so much medicine around, and then you look at the alternative, people actually relying on the doctors to help them with their COVID. Well, the first thing the doctors did was put them down in the hospital, put them in a bed with one thin sheet in the air conditioner. So you don't even get the sweat. And so you don't get the natural herbs, and you don't even get the natural healing thing of your body to fight. Too. And the sunlight, you don't even get access to sunlight as we put our health in the form of these physicians. And just like the scripture says, in these times when these ailments start getting tricky and severe and they don't know what's going on, they're going to drop the ball, and a whole lot of people going to die because they didn't put their faith in our Father who has the herbs growing right there on the tree.
Yeah.
Then rode past them on their way 55 miles an hour down there to the hospital.
Yeah, I didn't try the heebie juice.
Yeah, I meant to say now. Why you didn't try the heebie juice?
I don't know. I was scared it was gonna hit my stomach wrong.
And so then I thought about it. Now, how you gonna be scared of the medicine? If you go into the tribulation, no Walmarts, but just you're scared of the whole medicine. So you gonna have to try it. Even if you take it home, we got access to your own bathroom. We gonna have to. Because look, even that, you can grow all of those herbs. I mean, you might not be able to make vinegar, right? But the vinegar is just to pull the stuff out. You can boil it out, right? Maybe, but the heat affects it. But you could actually use tinctures or anything else to get that herb out of the onions, to get them vitamins out of the horseradish, the garlic, and all of that stuff, and have a natural ailment. Yeah. Because we ain't gonna be able to go down to the doctor. True. They've actually made they've made real oaths to false gods, and because they have done that, Now there has to be payback. And so we're not going to have them to rely on. We're going to have to go back to the natural thing. And, that's another thing we learned about the origins of birthdays, huh?
Oh yeah, we definitely got a class coming up for that one. We found some heavy hitting stuff, and it's really it's simple, but going from the Testament of Solomon and just researching the origins of how Chat GPT describes the deeply pagan rooted
Birthdays are, yeah, like deeply, like the worst.
Yeah.
Even worse than Christmas and them Halloween.
Yeah.
Yeah, I learned this, that birthday parties are actually worse than Christmas, Halloween, Easter, and all of them. Birthdays are the worst of the worst.
And that's why they push it so hard in our culture and society to celebrate your birthday.
Your birthday. And the way we found this, the way Brother Joseph found this, is by that word in the Testament of Solomon. It's I think it's verse 41 in the Testament of Solomon when it talks about the word spirit. And I can't show you guys the verse right now, but I think I can almost quote it when it says that he says, I am the worst, and I will make you worse off than you were before, because I will put the bonds of Artemis on you. And so then when Brother Joseph looked up what those bonds were, we find that it's tied to a moon cake, a round cake with candles on it that's supposed to, once you make your wishes, it's supposed to take away your blada yada. It's just a birthday party. Only thing they didn't mention was what? Singing that song they just made up, Happy Birthday.
But even that is
a part of it.
Has origins in that same thing.
Everything to do with a birthday party, or even the birth, remembering the birth and celebrating the birth of the child, is associated with that God, that entity, that spirit that he will put on those people, the word spirit. And so when you look at the Bible, of course you had, every birthday in the Bible was bad. You have Pharaoh, killing his servants. You have John the Baptist losing his head, and all of these wicked birthday parties going on. And then you look at the book of Job, who you only get 5 verses into the chapter 1, no doubt, realizing that these children have celebrated birthday parties and is now caused their own death, and all of this destruction on Job, including losing his entire family, was because of birthday parties. And then when you go deeper than that, you find out that angels never even celebrated birthdays. They actually celebrate the day of conception. The day you was conceived is the day they found joy, not the day you was born. And so that's backwards. We didn't went from the day, because you think about it, that's the day your light actually begins.
Yeah, and now they're trying to, that's how backward it is. They're trying to deny the conception part as being the start of life.
You look at my twins, they were 5 months premature. When is their birthday? They're 5 months premature. And actually a friend of mine at work, he was actually, had his son was supposed to be born, and his son was born on the exact same day. And we were at work talking about how our kids were going to be born on the exact same day, August the 4th. But then my kids came out 5 months early. So so now you look at it, how important is your birthday when it can be 5 months difference?
No.
That ain't got nothing to do with who you are. And then now they're having C-sections. They have women who decide when they want to have their birth. I want to have my birth on a Tuesday, and they go in there and they just cut them open and snatch the baby out and say, happy birthday.
Yeah.
Even pills can do that. I remember back in the day, they used to get in the car and ride down the bumpy road trying to shake the baby out. And so you have this, so the birthday don't matter. It can even be manipulated and changed. But that's what we're celebrating. At least when we have the birthday party, they're actually taking it out of our Father, taking it out of his control, taking it out of his will, not celebrating the conception of the child. We're focusing on the birthday of the child. And remember, that was also tied to the zodiac of the child.
Yeah.
And so that's essentially what they're doing. They're having this birthday celebration in order to figure out when this child was born, to find out what type of personality he's going to have based on the zodiac that he has.
Right.
But again, when is your true zodiac? The day you were supposed to be born, or the day you was really born, 5 months earlier. Yeah. So we learned that, and like I said, the way we learned it is by simply looking. I had never done that before. I want to go in now and see if I can find a correlation with those other names, but I think that's the only one where he says, I will put the bonds of so and so and so and so on you.
Yeah.
And so he's putting this spirit. It's actually the spirit of birthdays. So anybody who's talking about birthday parties, and I believe I can go to birthday parties or even still like birthday parties, is actually under this spirit. They're being controlled by this spirit, and that's why they have so much trouble putting it away. You know, put down the birthday parties. It's because the spirit is trying to keep them. It's like what they say, the bonds of
And the
that
bond,
spirit.
and you look at the bonds of you like, you say you ain't coming to somebody's birthday party, they will
Yeah, to get
not
mad.
talk, get mad at you, not talk to you for might even end the relationship between that person.
It will. Yeah, it will. It can end your relationship with the person. And now you think you got the president and getting the whole country involved
Yeah.
into this thing. And so that's part of, how, what's going to help destroy this whole system is that they're just going to take it to the extreme.
Yeah.
Yeah. And, birthdays are going to be the major thing. And we learned that. It's a really big deal. When you get to the book, the Testament of Solomon, chapter 41, after talking about the seven spirits, the rulers of darkness, the last one, which says that it is the worst of them all, ain't going to make you worse, is actually going to put the spirit of birthdays on you.
Yeah.
You're going to be at somebody, birthdays. Just like that. Should have been more careful. Anyway, let's go on. My moment was being in my tent, talking and spending time with Most High, reading and relaxing. So you remember us talking about inviting. So she didn't invite him into the tent.
Yeah.
And so she didn't have this deja vu moment. And so based on what we were talking about earlier, this is her first time in this lifetime, but on some previous world she didn't did this. So she's reconnecting with her spirit man.
Yeah.
That's actually one of the changes that we're supposed to go to is the reconnection of our spirit man. So we're going to actually meet this being that's been on these 12 different universes. Well, that would explain why he knows so much. Interesting. All right, let's go on. TTY144K says the long suffering. Yeah, it is a long suffering. Again, remember how much the Messiah suffered for this. And he's still suffering for this. He's suffering for us. His birth wasn't the end. That just helped him transition into the spirit world. And he's still having to help us through this suffering. And each time we sin, it's like we put him back on the cross. Anytime we do something wrong, it's like we're putting him back on the cross and crucifying him all over again. So he's still suffering for our sin every day. Honey Bunny says, erect apayam equals long suffering. Reka apayam. Okay. I have to take a word for it on that one. 144K says, like Abba, who is long suffering. He is long suffering, absolutely. She says, 2 Peter 3:9, Yahuwah is not slack concerning his promise, as some men count slackness, but is long suffering to usward, not willing that any should perish, but that all should come to repentance. Not willing that any should perish, but that all should come to repentance. And that's necessary.
Yeah.
Guys, we're in the 10 years of repentance. And if you don't have a repentant heart, you might be in trouble. There might be a reason for that. If you don't have a repentant heart, you need to pray for that. If you're out here arrogant, don't see anything that you're doing wrong, don't see anything that you need to change or fix, you need to pray for a repentant heart. Because again, those are the people who are enjoying life. Blessed is he who is repentant now. You don't want to, go through into this thing having finished these 10 years without having corrected your faults. Because the way it goes is, after these 10 years are up, and we're talking about 2027 and thereabout, these people are supposed to be taken out into the wilderness to be destroyed. Anybody who doesn't repent over the course of these 10 years is supposed to get destroyed by Satan. And so what that's talking about is an earthquake. What that's talking about is this trumpets blowing, taking away our food, clothing, and shelter, putting us all in a wilderness state. And if we don't know how to create our bayatah, if we don't know how to get our other tools and other things in order, you're going to starve to death. Which one of these can you not have? Go down through the alabayatah, each letter. Can you not have the star constellation, Allah, to know when you're supposed to be tabernacling? Can you not have a bayatah? Can you deal without his provisions? What about the door? Can you have a house without a door? What if you don't raise your hand and pray? No, what if there's a hook not tying any of this rest of this stuff? There's nothing on this list that we can get rid of and get rid of. But if you look at it, they tried to get rid of the covenant. It's gone. They tried to get rid of the destruction. It's gone. It's not even in a letter in the Hebrew alphabet. And so that's what we're doing. We're heading into this destruction on the 10th day when we go out into the wilderness and we don't have our tabernacle in order. We're missing something. We're missing the goodness. We're missing the Tawaba. We don't have a celestial clock. We're missing the Zana. We don't have the tool to go out there and do the horn. We, instead of being out there with the greens, we down there at the Walmart trying to buy some food. Same way with the lamada. Lamada is for sheep only. You don't put a crook around a cow's neck. You don't even put it around a goat's neck because he really got horns and all. It's really for the sheep. And then you go back to the book of Genesis. Lambs and shepherds were an abomination to the Egyptians. They still are. People who grow cows don't have sheep. Yeah. And how many sheep have you seen around here besides mine? I'm the only shepherd for miles and miles around. Even the closest people have, goats and stuff. There are very few shepherds. And so that's what the lamada is for. And so you going into the tribulation with no lamada, you ain't got no sheep. You ain't got no goats. You ain't got no animals. You ain't got nothing. So you don't have your zana. You ain't got no vegetables. You ain't got no lamada. You ain't got no animals. We depending on Walmart headed into the tribulation.
That store is going to be ransacked the first day.
Well, Walmart, when you read the book of Revelation, and you talk about the merchants, you say after Babylon falls, and the merchants will be crying, how much money we got off of that. Walmart receives 30% of their sales from pagan holidays. Not 30% of the profits, 30% of the sales. That's huge. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Because, if I go out here and call myself going to buy a car, right? I mean, if I call myself going to become an automobile salesman, right? I got to buy all of them cars, right? I'm going to buy 10 cars, $10,000 a piece. That's $1 million that I done invested, right? $1 million out of my pocket. But what I'm going to sell the cars for? Double? That's $20 million that I'm going to sell the cars for, right? And so now you take 30% of that. That's 30% of this number. That's what? Just to do the math. Let's see. Give my zero. Zip. 30. You're going to take that and say 60. And you're going to take away some zeros. So that's about 60 or out of $2 million, $600,000 that I'm getting, or that we're getting from a pagan holiday. $600,000, right? So I bought the cars for $1 million. I sold them for $2 million. $600,000 of that is because of the pagan holidays, and they're about to lose that much. So that means you take, whereas before I thought I had $1 million profit, now I'm gonna take away 60. So now I only got $400,000 profit. And so I still got to go buy the cars again. You see, you don't even have $1 million to buy the car anymore. You only have this much. You only have $400,000 in profit. Yeah. And the cars are going to cost you $1 million. You out of business. You out of business. You over. It's done. You lost 30%. You didn't lose 30% of your profit. That would have been this amount right here. You lost 30% of this, which cuts into that. Now you can't buy other stuff. You can't buy bananas to sell to nobody no more. You can't buy nothing to stock the shelves anymore because your Christmas benefits is gone. And so that's Target, Walmart, everybody else who's benefiting off of these pagan holidays are those merchants that are going to be sitting there crying. So you ain't going to have no Walmart trucks. We sitting here depending on chicken from Walmart. And it's already known that the Walmart trucks, even in the book of Revelation, say they're going to get crushed and going out of business. So where you going to eat from? You ain't got your Lamada, you ain't got your Zana, and you ain't got your Wow. You ain't got Walmart. That was a Hebrew word I chose, embody. And now I low key regret it. I am enduring it though. Not sure what you thought. That's Honey Buddy. Maybe I'll go up to the other comment. Oh, okay. Yeah, she is talking about the Hebrew word up there. And then TT144K says the Aquarian Gospel mentions a celebration birthday for yo. What I thought that's the book I keep telling y'all that I read and I thought was something was wrong with it. The Aquarian Gospel. I didn't make it that far to the birthday parties because when it said he had blue eyes and blonde hair, I put it down.
Yeah.
And I ain't been able to read it since. It had like a big picture of that God thing on the front with the long hair.
Yeah. So they already done broke.
They already, and then but I can get past that. I can get past the picture on the front. That's like the album cover. I can still hear the song. But then when I was actually reading it, it said that he had blonde hairs and blue eyes. When he got lost,
Yeah.
and it said they was Mary and Joseph was walking around asking, "Have you seen a blonde haired blonde child?" And I'm like, "Y'all lost y'all's mind." Mm-hmm. And so I put the book down, and then I regretted it later. I'm like, I should have read. I should have said nothing about it. But he said now they had a birthday party for him. They said it. Come on now, really? It says they had a birthday party for the Messiah now. I ain't gonna say nothing else about it. I'm going on. And that's the last comment. That's it. As far as I'm concerned, show is over. We gave everybody opportunity to give their comments. This was a comment show, and we got a few comments. We thank all you guys for stopping by and sharing your thoughts. Hopefully you had a blessed tabernacle, a Baraka tabernacle, and getting ready for the Feast of Hanukkah. Now, the Feast of Dedication is going to be 2 months from now. The pagans are going to be doing their Feast of the, what is that? The Golden Calf. Yep. They're going to be doing that around Thanksgiving time. Thanksgiving is a knockoff of our festival, guys, so don't participate. If you so desire to give thanks to our Father, do so. Wait 2 months from now and wait for the Feast of Dedication. It's just like this particular one. You can set up a booth. You can get all of the things here. Even your branches are supposed to walk around. And that's our next festival day. And if you got any questions or anything between now and then, let me know in the comment section. And we'll be trying to answer them according to our Father's will. Leah says, Shalom, much gratitude for sharing knowledge and truth. Brother Joseph, unless you got something else to say.
Shalom, everyone.
Love you guys. Talk to you later.